Hey guys, so I really wanted to give you a quick overview of a small little war that took place in the 1700s that may seem a little insignificant, but it actually did a lot to set up the rivalry between Austria and Prussia. So let's talk really quickly about Maria Theresa and the War of Austrian Succession. So it really begins with Maria's father, who is the Holy Roman Emperor Charles VI. And the problem is Charles has no male heirs. He only has two daughters, and there's no close family members who has any boys either. So he decides to create this document called the Pragmatic Sanction. Basically what this says is that no matter what happens to him, none of the Habsburg lands can be divided up. And when he dies, his eldest daughter, Maria Theresa, is going to inherit the Habsburg Empire, which is Austria. Most of Europe agrees. They're like, all right, cool, we'll let a girl take over. That's fine. It's your call, whatever. And so he feels like he's leaving his kingdom at peace. You know, he thought he came up with a great idea. And when he dies in 1740, he thinks he's great, right? So he dies, and his daughter, Maria Theresa, like he wanted, takes the throne. However, Frederick II, who has also just come to power in Prussia, does not agree with this. So in 1740, he seizes the land of Silesia, which is in Bohemia on the edge of the Austrian Empire, which he was not supposed to do under the Pragmatic Sanction. Because France has some issues with the Habsburgs, they decide that they're going to ally with Prussia and Frederick II in this. England, who hates France, decides that, well, you know what? If France is going to ally with Prussia, we'll ally with Austria. The war, as it often does, spills over into some of the colonies as well. It's called King George's War in North America, and it is during this time that the British begin taking Canada away from France. Also, the French take an Indian territory called Madras away from Great Britain, so we're seeing kind of some back and forth. And unfortunately for Austria, despite their alliance with the English, they just really couldn't get their military together. Maria had a hard time finding a good general. The army kind of fell apart, and it becomes really clear after about 8 years of war that this is not going to go well. So she decides that she's going to sign a treaty with Frederick, and in this treaty, Frederick gets to keep the land that he seized, and it really begins this long-standing rivalry between Austria and Prussia that's going to continue into the 19th century. Just some other things to note about Maria Theresa in terms of her domestic policies. So she definitely rules as an absolute monarch in Austria. She decides that she's going to consolidate the Austrian government and into a single sort of body. She does set up some bureaucratic reforms in the government as well so that it runs more smoothly. Now, Austria is mostly a Catholic country. Maria Theresa herself was a Catholic, and she does reject religious toleration in Austria, unlike they had done in Prussia, and tries to get Protestants and Jews to convert to Catholicism. She realizes about halfway through her reign that that's not going to happen and kind of deals with it, but it is technically not tolerated within Austria. And then finally, one of the biggest reforms that she sets up is a public education system for both genders, both boys and girls. So this is compulsory education that is sponsored by the state, and both genders get to go to school. So this is a really big deal. So Maria Theresa is the Archduchess of Austria, or the Empress of Austria, for a really long time, and she has several different children. Her children are going to go on to marry throughout the royal families of Europe, and that's going to become really important. But this is Maria Theresa. It's important to know her backstory. Her son, Joseph II, is going to play a really big role in her empire as well. So I hope this gave you a good picture of the tiny little war that set up a pretty big rivalry. I'll see you later. Bye.